When Kawhi Leonard won Finals MVP in 2014 at the age of just 22 years old, it felt like he was on a path to all-time greatness. This feeling was only furthered by his rise to superstardom in the coming seasons, making All-Star games and All-NBA teams, winning 2 Defensive Player of the Years, and finishing top 3 in MVP voting twice. From the way his career started, it really did seem like he had the potential to finish top 20, top 15, maybe even top 10 all time, and go down as one of the greatest two-way wings of the modern era. However, injuries have largely derailed his career over the past 6 seasons. He still had a ton of success, but with his recent injury situation in Los Angeles, I keep finding myself wondering about what could have been with him. His career is one of the most mystifying in NBA history, and things have only continued to get more confusing. Yo, what's going on, y'all? It's Cone back here again today with another video. Today, we're going to be talking about Kawhi Leonard, a player who should be much higher in all-time rankings than he is, but in large part due to injuries has really suffered in the second half of his career. He's been derailed for the most part, and I continue to wonder what he could have been if he didn't deal with these problems. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe, hit that notification bell so you don't miss on any of these videos. Let's talk about Kawhi Leonard. 2023 marks Kawhi Leonard's 12th year in the association. If we split that career right down the middle, we can pinpoint exactly when the health issues began to arise from him. In the first 6 seasons of his career, Kawhi Leonard played 398 out of 476 total possible regular season games. That's 83.6% play rate, which is very impressive for a superstar caliber player, one that many people associate pretty heavily with load management. However, in the second half of his career post 2017, Kawhi's played just 183 out of 413 possible regular season games, including a year where he played just 9 games in his final season with the Spurs, and last year where he missed the whole season with an ACL tear. That's just 44% of possible games. That's a massive drop off for a guy that was nearly an Iron Man over the first 6 seasons of his career. So the question is, what happened? And I'm sure a lot of you know the answer already. It's the Zaza Pachulia incident. For those of you that may need a refresher, back in 2017, the Golden State Warriors and San Antonio Spurs were facing off in the Western Conference Finals. In Game 1, the Spurs, led by Kawhi Leonard, were up by 20 points in the third quarter against a Warriors team that were supposed to be juggernauts and heavy favorites. Kawhi Leonard then would rise up for a corner 3-pointer with about 8 minutes to go in the third, when Zaza Pachulia would slide underneath him, causing him to re-injure an ankle that he had been dealing with over the course of the playoffs as a whole. This would not just take him out of the game, but out of the series entirely, and basically end his tenure as a San Antonio Spur. He would only play 9 games the next season, and the year after, be traded to the Toronto Raptors. Since that moment, Kawhi has yet to play over 60 games in a single season, something that he did 5 out of 6 years in that first half of his career that we talked about. Now, even with injuries, Kawhi has an impressive resume. He's a 2-time NBA champion, a 2-time Finals MVP, 2-time Defensive Player of the Year. He's got 5 All-NBA selections, 7 All-Defensive selections, and 5 All-Star selections, along with a spot on the NBA 75 list. And a lot of this success came post-injury, with him making 3 All-NBA teams in that time, as well as winning a title and a Finals MVP in Toronto in 2019, with one of the greatest individual playoff runs ever, something I made a full video about. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to check that out. This is an amazing career, injuries or not. If any player could get this type of success, they would 100% take it. But what really gets weird is when we look at the numbers that result from him not playing a lot of games. Over his 12 NBA seasons, Leonard has totaled 11,135 points, 3,709 rebounds, and 1,016 steals. These are pretty impressive numbers for most players. However, when we're talking about someone that's looked at as one of the all-time greats, they seem really underwhelming. Some of the names that have scored more than Kawhi Leonard in his career include Trevor Ariza, Andrew Wiggins, Tobias Harris, Gordon Hayward, and John Wall, who missed multiple seasons with injury himself. He's also only 113 points more than Serge Ibaka in his career. Some of the guys that have more career rebounds than him include Markieff Morris and Harrison Barnes. As for steals, he's behind Eric Bledsoe and Kevin Durant, and just ahead of Drummond, and he's a 2-time Defensive Player of the Year. I will say that those totals do not include his playoff numbers, where he's one of the best performers in modern history, averaging 29.4 points per game on 51.1% shooting over his last 4 trips to the playoffs. Even still, this is crazy for a guy that is on the NBA 75 team and pretty widely considered a top 50 player of all time. I'm not saying it's not deserved, because between his playoff performances and his accolades, Kawhi is easily of that caliber of player. However, it just really puts into perspective how much dominance we've been robbed of with Kawhi Leonard due to these injuries. If he was able to stay healthy, maybe he could be above 20,000 points. He'd be much higher in rebounds and steals as well. Maybe he has another defensive player of the year, or at least some more all-defensive selections, some more all-NBA teams, some more all-star appearances. These are all things that Kawhi Leonard should have more of, but he just doesn't because of these injuries. This all culminates in the biggest what-if, which has been his Clippers tenure. When he got here with Paul George and they had a stacked surrounding cast, it was immediately clear that they were going to be a team competing for titles for years to come. In that first season, they made it to the second round and blew that 3-1 lead to the Nuggets, having nothing to do with Kawhi Leonard's injury history, but every year since then, they have been plagued by a massive blow to their superstar player. 2021 is the year in particular that really we have to take a look at. This season, Kawhi was having one of the best playoff runs of his career. He was incredible. It looked like there was no force of nature that could stop what he was doing. It was amazing. One of the most dominant stretches we've ever seen him play, which once again is saying a lot for a player as good as he is. Against the Dallas Mavericks, he was absolutely on fire. Then you get against the Utah Jazz, where the Clippers look really, really good. And then Kawhi Leonard would tear his ACL, which was a massive blow to them, of course. But even so, they were able to get out of that round, led by Paul George and the great play of guys like Terrence Mann, who had a monster game against the Jazz to eliminate them. Then in the Western Conference Finals, led by Paul George, the Clippers pushed Phoenix to 6 games. Imagine if they had Kawhi Leonard, who was having one of the best individual playoff runs we've seen in a very, very long time. I feel pretty comfortable saying that they'd likely win that series with him. Then in the NBA Finals, they would face off against the eventual real-life champion Milwaukee Bucks, led by Giannis Antetokounmpo, who would drop 50 in an elimination game in the actual finals. And you can debate whether or not the Clippers or Bucks would have won this series, but being led by Kawhi Leonard, who was on an absolute tear, alongside Paul George, a really solid supporting cast, and a already winning championship coach in Tyronn Lue, LA would have had a really good shot to take home the first championship in their franchise history, and also Kawhi Leonard himself would have had a pretty good shot to win Finals MVP for the 3rd time, winning a title with the 3rd franchise that he's been with. It would have been an incredible story and catapulted him up the all-time leaderboards. Instead, he would miss the rest of that playoff run and eventually the entire 2022 NBA season, rehabbing his ACL. However, the Clippers almost made the playoffs even without him, while also missing Paul George for a good portion of the season. If they had a fully healthy Kawhi Leonard, maybe even coming off of a title run, they had a good chance to make the playoffs, let Paul George get healthy, and then once again go into things as one of the favorites. Just another year where Kawhi Leonard's injury derailed them in a big way. Then we get to this season where the Clippers supporting cast might be better than they've ever been. I personally picked the Clippers to win the championship this season, looking at that deep supporting cast, the coaching of Tyronn Lue, who's one of the best in the league in my opinion, and of course the play of Paul George alongside Kawhi Leonard, who I knew would take a bit of time to get back to form, but I expected to play somewhat regularly to begin the season. That hasn't been the case whatsoever. Out of LA's 23 games so far, Kawhi has only played in 5 of them, starting in just 3, playing around 20 minutes per game, and even when he plays, he just doesn't look like himself. He looks out of rhythm and he looks a bit slower, which is understandable for a guy that hasn't played basketball in about a year, but even so, you have to wonder if these injuries are slowly catching up to Kawhi Leonard and are going to continue to slow him down over the course of this season. You might be saying to yourself, oh, they're just resting him for the playoffs, this isn't that big of a deal, and if that was the case, I would agree. However, they've said that he has suffered setbacks, that there have been sorenesses. He's supposed to be playing at the moment, regardless of what's going on with the injuries. He was supposed to be on the court right now, playing in these games, getting ready, ramping back up. It just hasn't been the case. He has not been healthy enough. And if he's not able to get on the court consistently, even if he's healthy when the playoffs come around, he doesn't have time to build up some chemistry and rhythm with his teammates, of which he has a lot of new ones. This is a different squad from the one that he last played with. He needs that time to build the rapport and build that connection, especially in a really tough Western Conference. They've already announced that Kawhi is supposed to miss at least the next 2 games as well, meaning that at this rate, Kawhi is going to play less than 20 games this season, assuming everything stays the same, which hopefully it doesn't, and he's able to get healthier, come back and play more consistently. But that is very concerning for a guy that is coming off an injury that really hinders a lot of players, especially at the age of 31, when he's been dealing with a lot of these over the second half of his career. With Kawhi, Paul George, and the rest of the supporting cast getting older, this might be their final chance to win a ring. If Kawhi isn't playing at a superstar level by the time the playoffs roll around, they honestly don't have a shot to win at all. Paul George is great, supporting cast, great. Tyronn Lue, one of the best coaches in the league. But if you do not have Kawhi Leonard playing like a superstar, they just cannot compete with the other great teams in the West. Things must be terrifying for the Clippers organization because they mortgaged their entire future, giving up like 7 first-round picks, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Danilo Gallinari, to bring in Paul George to lure Kawhi Leonard over. They gave everything to the Thunder. They don't really have a future ahead of them. This is what they have. If Kawhi Leonard and the rest of these guys can't bring them a title, it's a massive failure for them as an organization. And if Kawhi can't end up winning a title in Los Angeles, it goes down as one of the biggest what-ifs in a career for him now that has become full of them. All in all, I just want to see Kawhi Leonard get healthy again and be back out there playing high-level hoops. I don't want to wonder anymore, what if he didn't get hurt in Game 1 of the 2017 Western Conference Finals? What if he didn't tear his ACL in 2021? Now I'm wondering, what if he was playing this season? What would the Clippers look like? It's just become a lot of what-ifs for Kawhi Leonard, none of which are his fault. I just hope he can get healthy again, but if not, his career is going to go down as one of the biggest question marks of the modern era. I appreciate y'all watching. Make sure to leave a comment below and let me know what you think about Kawhi Leonard's career. Will this Clippers team still win a title, or is the core kind of finished? And ultimately, if you have any video ideas that you want to see me make sure to let me know down there. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe as well, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of these videos. I appreciate y'all watching. I'll see y'all later. Real one, say it back.